happen. I mean, I don't expect the Aggies to win a Mountain West championship next year. And I don't really expect Frank Miley to get the job because of kind of the issues. So I'm not saying that everything's rosy and perfect. But at the same time, because guys can transfer and there's going to be a ton of junior college players available, I don't think there's any reason why the Aggies couldn't turn things around pretty quickly and with the right hire, be really good in the next few years. So what about basketball? What are your thoughts? We're probably running a little bit long, so we'll probably just keep that short. But what do you think about the basketball team?
Yeah. So it was good that we talked a lot about football because that's the big thing. But a little disappointed in the first couple games. It seemed like our shooting. We got some new players and struggled a little bit to take care of the ball, especially when we were pressured by like the full court press. But and so maybe it was a blessing in disguise that we didn't have to play the press Virginia or quote unquote team if we had won the first game. But I do like how we turned it around, and Northern Iowa is traditionally like lately they've been pretty good. I think they've even made the tournament and been like one of those like 12 seed teams that can maybe sometimes get an upset. So I mean we were definitely had more size than them, and I'm glad we won, and we get a nice week to prepare for BYU, which looking like that'll be tough. I'm interested to see how BYU plays against USC, and then I think they have another opponent. It's like a little tournament they're going in, and so they'll have less rest, but they'll be ready to go. It'll be weird to see it in an empty spectrum with just all our yellow, orange, like green chairs, our weird colored chairs, but from what I read on Utah State Athletics, they're trying to do a virtual sellout, and I know that's always good to help the program. Like I bought myself a virtual ticket for the homecoming game, and even if it's a little bit, that helps because I know, like many teams, we're kind of struggling for the financially because just if you don't have people in the seats like paying for tickets, then I mean that's revenue that a lot of programs need. So anyways, for the basketball,
I saw something I was just gonna say I saw something the other day for it was like a BYU ad that said we'll take $1 or $10 or $1 million. It's just so funny because it's like, well, any amount was great, but we'd take $1 million. That'd be great. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, they have some big boosters down there. But yeah, I'm excited for. Again, a lot of new guys. I really like Rolly Worcester. Kata's he always does his thing. I think we're still trying to discover who our main guy is. I know Marco Anthony struggled the first couple of games, but he poured it on in the third game, and kind of as a transfer from Virginia, I expect him to be good, and he picked it up on defense as well, and I think that kind of fueled him since like Virginia is known for its defense. So if he can continue to be a really good defender at the guard position, Sam Merrill, we love him and he was great at offense, but I feel like he kind of fed off his offensive game, and maybe if Marco Anthony can feed off the defense, he can really be a good player at both ends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Marco will kind of figure out what to do on offense. If he can be solid, if he can look to pass the ball maybe a little bit more, dribble the ball a little bit less, I think he'll be fine. I think he's a good defender. I think honestly, I didn't expect this going into the season, but I was probably most impressed with Brock Miller in that tournament because I think he was just solid. So I think some of those returning guys, or at least guys that have a little bit more experience, if they can kind of step up and make some shots and make some plays and play good defense, Obviously, Kata is going to be pretty consistent, and Bean is going to do what Bean does. And some of the young guys like Worcester and some of the other guys are going to come around and they're going to improve throughout the year. But I'm really excited about Raleigh. I think he has the potential to be really, really good. So yeah, I mean, I think this team. I mean, it's okay to be frustrated that the Aggies lost a couple games, but at the same time, I think they would have beat Wichita State and then probably would have lost to West Virginia, and who knows what happens, after that. So it is what it is. They went 1-2 on the for the tournament, and the Aggies have another big chance to beat BYU on Saturday. That's obviously the big deal going forward, is they've got to get a win against BYU. If they keep losing to BYU or keep having weird games that they lose, or obviously it's a little bit better playing in the Spectrum with no fans than playing at the Jazz court, but Vivint Arena. But so yeah, what do you think about Saturday? What do you think about the matchup against BYU?
Oh man, so I was actually in the Spectrum the last time that we beat BYU. It was the infamous Brandon Davies game.
That's been way too long.
Yeah, way too long. But I basketball is kind of, as an Aggie fan, I didn't really grow up going to football games because I mean my parents didn't really my parents bought Logan High tickets because the Aggies were pretty bad, and so maybe I only went to a couple. But growing up, I loved watching the Aggies, and I remember seeing them a couple of times beat BYU, and especially at home, it seemed like we protected our home court. And even though we don't have fans, hopefully they can find a way to get some fan noise, and with the virtual seats and everything, and get the players pumped up to play this game, because BYU's a young team too. They've lost a lot of their players. They do have the Alex Barcelo kid is looking like probably the leader, and I think from what I've seen in rivalry games, sometimes when one team's lost, like BYU loses to Utah every year, so I feel like they psych themselves out, and they've lost to them close games. They've lost to them by a lot in football. So I think for the Aggies, last year it was good that we were at least close, but because for a couple of the years in the Tim Duryea years, we were getting beat pretty bad, I remember. Yeah. So I'm positive, hopeful. I'm hoping that I can find a way to listen or watch the game. I don't know if it being a home game, if it'll be on BYU TV or what, but I'm excited for that game. I haven't seen BYU play a ton, but I did see him play against UVU, and they struggled early, and they seem kind of like they don't do as well in the half court. They're a fast break team, so we got to slow it down and get them in the half court, because it seems like when BYU just starts running in transition, like it's kind of like a freight train that's hard to stop. So I think we'll just do our best, but like I love Craig Smith, but one thing that maybe Stu has on him in the terms of the history, and Craig Smith still has time, and hopefully he'll stay. Maybe he won't stay for 17 years, but it seems like Craig Smith, when he was at South Dakota, he was losing to South Dakota State. And I'm not dissing on him by any means. I'm saying he's a great coach, that he wins Mountain West championships, but it just seems like for whatever reason, it's hard for him to get the monkey off his back and beat his rivals sometimes. He's done pretty well against San Diego State, which I consider as like one of our biggest rivals, like in the conference. But yeah, I'd really like to see us protect home court. And to his credit, he hasn't gotten the chance to have. I think he deserves the chance to have a packed Spectrum for a game versus BYU, because his first year he went at BYU and lost by a lot, and then last year was neutral. It's too bad with COVID that he couldn't have a packed Spectrum, because I think, people might say, oh, it doesn't make a difference, but with the Aggie home court, when the Spectrum's rocking, I think, and the Aggies have a good team, because BYU with Tim Duryea, they beat us in a packed Spectrum before, but I think if you get a good Aggie team in a packed Spectrum, that against BYU. I think that's a really hard game for any team to win at. Like you saw in Stu's day, like the Aggies had one of the longest home winning streaks in the nation, and you see
Yeah,
why.
even
Because like,
even Utah used to come to the Spectrum. That's crazy to think about now, right?
yeah, now they don't. Yeah,
BYU wants to play the neutral games at Vivint and stuff like that. But yeah, it's I mean they're so good at home. Obviously, it's a little bit hard to get some teams to come up there. But and those rivalry games, those in-state games, are usually early in the season. Whereas the last couple of years, the Aggies have gotten better and better throughout the year. Last year was kind of a weird year, but the Aggies definitely peak at the end of the year. So I guess we'll see what happens. I think the Aggies will improve throughout the year. I think it'll be a good season, and even I mean I think there's hope. For the football team to kind of end on a high note, and obviously get a coach hired in the next couple weeks as well. So, thanks for listening. Again, check out Dan, his website, listen to his podcasts, and everything like that. And thanks for listening to the Aggie Out podcast. We really appreciate it. See ya.